It's yellow, and once it's red, you're done. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Good evening. I'm Sarah Buttner. I'm the Democratic candidate for the 4th Senate District. And I want to first thank the Civic League for Newcastle County for organizing this event, and thank our moderators, and thank all of you for coming tonight. I got into this race to address the problems and opportunities of the 4th District. I bring experience and expertise in getting results in legislative policy. In Washington, I collaborated with company officials and congressional staff and Treasury Department officials. Together we developed employee benefits policy favorably impacting employees and pensioners across the country. I directly affected the quality of information on retirement benefit statements in a way that improved the information that goes out to folks like you. And I saved money in the process. In Dover, I provided key background information to the commission that makes decisions that impact your utility bills. Strong qualifications that I bring to serve you include a bachelor's degree in economics and a graduate degree in business, and most recently a master's degree in energy and environmental policy. My experience includes 27 years at DuPont, culminating as legislative consultant representing DuPont in Washington. After DuPont, I was employed full-time by Delaware's Public Service Commission. And then I set up my own consultancy where I was employed to help protect and educate utility customers by 2 key Delaware agencies and 1 Washington agency. If I have the honor of serving the 4th District, key issues that I will address include job growth, supporting our schools, good roads and bridges, support for clean energy and safe drinking water, and preserving our open space. Thank you.
Well, good evening. I'm Senator Margaret Rose Henry, and I have the honor of representing the 2nd Senatorial District, which incorporates the city of Wilmington, the east side primarily. It starts in actually Claymont and Edgemore Gardens and goes all the way down to Old Newcastle. So you can imagine the diversity of issues that I have to deal with. But primarily, unfortunately, I would say I have the distinction of probably having the poorest senatorial district in the state because of the high unemployment and the lack of opportunities. And I think my good friend here will probably talk about some ideas that maybe we can work on to try to improve that. But what I want to say is that we deal with things such as high unemployment. If the state's unemployment rate is 8%, then in the city of Wilmington it's probably 28%. And of course, everyone likes to talk about the crime in Wilmington. But I want to say that there are also a lot of very, very good things that are happening too in our city. But things can be better. So one of the things I want to work on is obviously education, because our children are not graduating at the rate that they should, and they're not being successful in terms of finding employment. I want to congratulate our governor this year because we did a lot of interesting things to work on just education if we talk about that. Students now don't have to pay to take their SAT test. It's offered free everywhere. Students who want to take AP courses now can go and take AP courses so they can be ready to go to college and have some advanced placement. That's a good thing. That encourages those students who really want to do better to have an opportunity to go to college and be successful. And all of you, of course, know that we have the SEED program, which provides a free education for 2 years for anyone who has at least a C average. And then we have the Inspire Scholarship for the state of Delaware State, which provides up to 4 years of an education. So if our students really do well in school, they have an opportunity to further their education. And why do I say that? Because we all know that education is the key to getting out of poverty, being able to get a good job, and being able to take care of your family. And that's really what it's about. And I have so much more I want to say. Thank you.
Good evening, I'm Robert Martin, the Honorable Mrs. Henry's opponent for the 2nd Senatorial District. Well, one thing I want to say is that I'm glad they didn't tell me this was a debate. I didn't want to sit here and look like Paul Ryan with our VP. I have a lot of respect for our current senator. But there are some things that we do need to change here in the state of Delaware. And as she stated, in our district is a poor district. But you know what? Just because they're poor, that doesn't mean that they have to remain that way. One thing that we can do is change the whole paradox. The paradox has been that Democrats have been controlling Wilmington for 58 years. 58 years. That paradox hasn't changed. We have to change it. There's ways we can change it. And some of those ways are common sense. I heard a speaker here earlier talk about, well, you know, the state of Delaware is the largest employer. Yeah, you know, let government create more jobs. Well, that's not common sense to me. Can someone tell me one product the state of Delaware produced? A product. So what I'm trying to say is we need to create jobs. We need to make Delaware, and especially Wilmington, my senatorial district, friendly for jobs. Okay, and if that takes having some type of incentives, look at New York. What did New York say? You know what? Let's get rid of taxes for a couple of years. Let's not beat them up with taxes. Let's get the businesses in. So we need to incorporate some innovative ideas like that. Another thing is what we need to do is better educate our kids. Our kids are failing in the city of Wilmington. 4 out of 5 are not ready for college. 1 out of 4 of the African American kids in my district, and for that matter throughout the whole state, are not even graduating. And you want to talk about crime? I have to digress. But with crime, if you have better education systems, you'll have less crime. Thank you.
First question, and we'll keep it with education. Overall, what is the current state of education in Delaware, and what do you think we can do better?
Well, the current state of education in Delaware is not up for me to tell you. It's up for the studies to tell you. Out of 50 states, we're number 51 in SAT scoring. That includes Washington, D.C. So those are the hardcore facts. And I already gave you the facts about our graduation rates. What can we do to improve that? So Robert, what is your solution? Well, once again, I'm a common sense type Republican. If I'm in a race car race at NASCAR and I come in dead last and I see the car that came in first, I'm going to go inspect that car. What kind of engine does it have in it? What kind of tires do it have? So what's wrong with us using common sense practices to look at other states which have programs, and one great program is the empowerment savings accounts. That's working. That's making them first. So we need to take a strong look and don't be afraid of this change that our president talked about, that all the Democrats talk about, that even Republicans talk about. We don't need to sit here and talk about change, folks. We need to sit here and talk about implementation. We need to apply some of these things right here in the state. Now, we don't have to do it statewide. I don't have all the answers, but I do think we can take a model. We can pop it into one of our distress districts or our city, and we can see if it works. And I digress the rest of my time.
Oh, you go, we start. Should we have more, does he have more time?
You have 25 seconds.
25 seconds? Okay. Well, if y'all want me to keep going, I can keep moving. So yeah, we definitely, and let me just expound on the education savings accounts, because I know we have some educators here, and I know I'm going to wrinkle a lot of feathers here because it may have to deal with addressing the teachers' unions. And one thing I want to say about the teachers' unions, I love teachers. The unions, I'm not that fond of, because the first thing that happens when they go on strike, the unions tell teachers to strike. How can you be for the kids and you walking out of the classroom with the kids? We need to make these teachers' unions realize that the kids come first. The kids have to come first.
Well, education obviously is the key to success for all of us. And we've made some tremendous progress. We're not where we should be, as Robert says, but, you know, if I were to grade our education system overall, I think we're a C or better. I really do. I think we can do a lot of things better, but we've made tremendous progress. We've moved the needle. The testing is more difficult now for our children because we want to make sure that they're ready to meet the challenges of people from other parts of the world who come for and compete for the jobs that we have here. But I think the governor and the government and the Senate and the House has done an awful lot to provide the stimulus that's needed to encourage children to be successful educationally. And I think the teachers and the teachers' unions are partners in that. I know that the evaluation of teachers has been an issue, the standards have been an issue, all of these things. But working together, we can have a first-class education. And I think it will take all of us to really move the needle forward. But I do think we should be proud of what we've been able to accomplish. The fact that we received the Race to the Top grant, as all of you know, was a big deal. It gave us money to develop job coaches, to help our teachers get ready for the things that they didn't know how to do in terms of teaching our children. But more than that, I think every little boy and girl should be able to wake up in the morning and think that they can be a doctor, a lawyer, or anything that they want to be, or an entrepreneur. And we have to instill that in them. And the only way you do that is by giving them the opportunity to explore and dream. And education is how that happens for many of them. Thank you.
Yes, so Delaware's high school graduation rates are lower than our neighboring states. Our SAT scores are low. That's not attractive to business. But I do, I think that all the improvements that Senator Rose Henry just mentioned are great ones. And yes, we can do better. I'm pleased that Delaware is implementing Common Core standards. That'll give our students a common set of skills and knowledge when they graduate and help them compete in the global marketplace. As I've been knocking on doors, I've heard from teachers who say they have too much paperwork and that takes away time from teaching. We need to ensure that there's adequate funding for gifted and talented programs, and we need to be sure there's enough funding for students with special needs.
Okay, you have another minute.
Go ahead with a question.
Okay. All right. Let's start with Senator Henry.
I'm not quite sure of the program. Do we have questions?
Yes, you want to answer the question?
Okay.
Ask the question.
I'm just going to slide it down. So we'll start. Okay, next question. And this relates to transportation. As a state representative, you are located about $225,000 to $250,000 each year to repave and repair neighborhood streets and roads in the district you represent. Should the amount be larger given the vast amount of issues we've had with water main breaks and paving issues?
Well, we have to do what's fiscally responsible. In other words, we have to take the dollars that the state has and divide it as equitably as we can to meet all of its needs, and certainly roads and streets are needs. Those of us who represent the 2nd District, I know my Representative J.J. Johnson will probably speak, we had 495 to deal with too this session, if you will. And the roads in my communities were destroyed because of the trucks having to be diverted to be able, because they couldn't use 495. I want to really compliment DelDOT on how quickly they were able to bring us back to full usage of that. That's an amazing thing. I also think the federal government stood up and really came to our rescue. They spent over $29 million to help us get that bridge operating. But what happens is, we're the corridor for the Northeast. So when the bridge went down, it impacted on a lot of people. 90,000+ people all of a sudden were dumped on highways. I don't know how you feel, but it took you longer to get home and all of that. Those are things that impact on our quality of life. So I'm happy that the bridge is repaired, but it destroyed a lot of streets. And we did give the city of Bloomington $500,000 to try to compensate, if you can say that, for some of the damages that have been done. but we have, and also we had so many potholes. This was the worst winter that I can remember in a long time. And I don't know how many potholes I had on some of my streets, but I can tell you that you busted a lot of tires and you rode up and down most of the time. And Governor Prince that I represent, I got calls daily about all the potholes, and if you know that area. So I think we've done a decent job in terms of trying to deal with our roads, given the amount of money that we have. You asked about, is it enough? It's never enough because we serve vast communities. And the House and the Senate get the same amount of money. So where I might have to do all the area I described, my colleagues in the House get the same $225,000. So you see, it's a lot. We're very smart. We partner.
I would be a junior senator if I have the pleasure of serving you, so I'm not too privy with the allocation of funds for roads. So I just have to speak from a national level from what I see. And I know that we wrote a check for infrastructure to our federal government. I do know that our former senator is the vice president. So I don't know how much of those funds that we got, but I would be really curious to know, where did those shovel-ready jobs go? Where did that shovel-ready funding go in terms of for our roads? You know, so like I said, I can't speak much on that, but do I think we need more? Well, you know what? You're always going to need more. We always want to improve. So if we need more, we have to do things so we can have more funds, and it goes back to economic growth. It goes back to not burdening our citizens with extra taxes, you know, to take care of that more. So you have to be very careful when you go down that slippery road, when you hear politicians say we need more. Because once they do that, they're going to get more. And the number one tax revenue that the state of Delaware had is you. And you. And you. And you. So be very careful when a politician, even if I knock on your door and say we need more. So with that being said, yes, we always need improvements. We want a strong infrastructure here in the state of Delaware. And with that, I would yield the rest of my time.
Okay.
These are community transportation funds, and they are allocated to senators and representatives for repairs in their district. The amounts are limited by the available funds. I'm hearing from senators and representatives that they are very stretched to meet the needs for road repairs in their districts. And if I have the honor of serving as the state senator for the 4th District, I'll work with DelDOT and other stakeholders to find ways of meeting these community repair needs.
Okay. And due to time constraints, I'm going to ask each one of you to offer your closing statements. Can we start with you, Sarah, please?
Sure. My opponent, Senator Lavelle, and I differ on quite a few important issues. I oppose laws that would weaken unions. He supports those. He said no to the increase in the minimum wage, which is helping families across Delaware. He said no to common sense gun control, and he said no to civil unions and marriage equality. We need a senator who is moderate, who's willing to work with both sides on serious issues, someone who will represent the true interests of Delaware's District 4 constituents. I want to enhance our quality of life, bringing new jobs to the state, safe roads and bridges, supporting improvements in our schools, clean water, and clean energy, and preserving our open space. I'm out talking with voters most every day. I intend to continue to work closely with them and talk to them if I'm elected. This is not a career stepping stone for me. It's a full-time job, and I can do it well. I have the experience, the energy, the dedication to solve important issues, and I ask for your support in November. Thank you.
First, I would like to thank you for giving us the opportunity. This is our first chance to really have a dialogue and get to talk and know each other. He's such a handsome guy, isn't he?
Thank you.
You know, in terms of a wrap-up statement, I don't really have one, but what I would like to say is that there's so much unfinished business to do. You know, when you leave June 30th, you leave so many things on the table. You've done the best job that you could, but so many pressing needs are still left undone. And of course, education and the continuation of trying to improve our education system has to be paramount in whatever we plan to do. The creation of jobs was really our big topic this year. What can we do to create jobs? And our governor knocked himself out. We did tax credits. We did finance, and we did, and when someone heard they wanted to come, we would go out and see them and encourage them to come. I spent the day this week with the president of Dole Company from California, who came to Delaware about legislation that we had proposed that would have caused him to want to leave our state because we were becoming business unfriendly. Once he brought those issues to my attention, I began to look at, I was happy that we had stopped the legislation, but I understood more what it meant to him and other corporations who want to do business in Delaware. So there's a balance we have to find. Yes, we want to make more money from taxes, but at the same time, we want people to come here, locate their businesses, because if they come here, then they create jobs, and then people can pay their taxes, and the state will have money to operate. So I'm excited about being able to go back to Dover. There is just so much to be done. The district that I represent has so many needs. I don't think you could ever finish. But I'm honored to be able to be here tonight and share with you some of the things that I need to do. Thank you.
Thank you all for allowing me to be here and for giving me time to speak with every last one of you. Several things is when I go to Dover and have the honor of representing my district, common sense. A CEO will not need to come to me and say, your tax rate is outrageous. That's why we're not coming to Delaware. I'm going to go to Dover knowing the tax rate is outrageous, and I'm going to go to Dover creating policies to make it a friendly environment. We're not going to need anyone to come to me because I know. I worked for the Scott's Company. I worked for Armstrong World Industries. I've sat in some of these boardrooms. I know why they don't go to states. Something else that I want to address is that, yes, our district is the poorest district. If our district is the poorest district, how can anyone that represents that district vote for a 10-cent per gallon gas tax? Because you know that's hurting your constituents. But this is the kind of antics that go on down in Dover. But then when we sit here, we try to find a way to pacify and pander to you. All I'm asking for is that when I have the honor of representing my district, and more so passing bills that will affect the state of Delaware, you know that